Hello and good evening, everybody, and I'd like to welcome everyone back to tonight's episode of Album Rant. This will be episode 80, and as you can see right in front of you, tonight I am going to talk for the very first time, and well, quite possibly the very last time, about the one and only Quiet Riot. And yes, American hard rock heavy metal band, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with a lot of their hits, but believe it or not, they actually go back a lot further than you might think. They actually originated in the early 70s, and they actually formed in the year 1973 by two guys by the name of Randy Rhoads, yes, that Randy Rhoads, who played guitar, and Kelly Garney, who played bass guitar. And later, they were joined by lead vocalist by the name of Kevin Dubrow. For the longest time, I thought it was Kevin Dubrow, but I actually think I did some research. I think it's pronounced Dubrow, so I am going to go with that. If I am actually mispronouncing it now, I'm sure you will correct me. But anyways, later they finally completed the last piece of the puzzle, and they recruited a drummer by the name of Drew Forsythe. And they started out as more of a glam rock band and also a hard rock band, but they became very successful, especially in the LA area in the mid to late 70s. And when they recruited Dubrow, he was actually not what Randy Rhoads had in mind. He was envisioning, or he was hoping to hire someone who had more of a theatrical edge to them, like maybe perhaps Alice Cooper or David Bowie. And so Dubrow initially was not exactly the kind of stage performer that Randy Rhoads initially wanted. But in the end, they were just happy with his unmitigated enthusiasm, and well, he was there to stay, and he is probably today the member most widely associated with this act, so I'm really glad he did. But anyways, they did initially get a contract in the late 70s, and actually they were in some very stiff competition with a little band called Van Halen, and unfortunately their record deal was not quite as good as that Van Halen band's was. And they were able to release two albums in the year 1978, but they were only actually released in Japan. They never actually got an official release in the United States. Yes, that did happen. And this was not exactly the kind of hard rock heavy metal that is most synonymous with Quiet Riot. Again, this was really more glam rock than heavy metal, and I've heard the albums on YouTube. I do not own actual copies of them because, again, they were only released in Japan, so they cost a lot of money, so that's why. Okay, but they got moderate reviews. As I said, they were mostly glam rock. And so, again, they hadn't quite found their sound yet. But Garney and Dubrow, unfortunately, had what could be stated as a very rocky relationship. And that's probably an understatement, actually. And Garney really wanted Dubrow out of the band. And there was one night where they were in the middle of recording their second album, which was entitled Quiet Riot 2. The debut actually was called Quiet Riot, so there you go. But anyways, while Dubrow was in the studio recording his vocals for the album, Garney apparently robbed a bar, stole some liquor, and got very, very drunk. And then he got into a big altercation with Rhoads, told him to fire Dubrow, and even pulled out a gun and fired it into the ceiling, and then got into a fist fight. Then after that, he drove across town and allegedly attempted to kill Dubrow, who was right in the middle of the recording studio. Yeah, sounds pretty crazy if you ask me. So, yeah, to say the least, Garney was pretty much out of the band after that incident, and the band was starting to crumble right before their eyes. So anyways, they needed a new bassist. They tried auditioning Nikki Sixx. Yes, that Nikki Sixx. But apparently, according to Dubrow, he, and I quote, didn't know the names of the notes and couldn't play the instrument. Okay, I actually really do believe that. So they called in Rudy Sarzo to replace him. However, unfortunately, by 1979, Randy Rhoads was just sick and tired of all the drama, couldn't take it anymore, so he was out, and the band later dissipated and broke up. Randy Rhoads, however, did join forces with Ozzy Osbourne and did perform on his very first 2 solo albums, which were entitled Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. Again, it's that Randy Rhoads. And yeah, so the band was pretty much done in the early 80s. And later on, for the Diary of a Madman tour, Rudy Sarzo actually did join Ozzy Osbourne as well. So during that period, a very brief period, Ozzy Osbourne actually had 2 former members of Quiet Riot. So there we have that. Yeah, but in 1982, Dubrow actually decided he wanted to put the band back together again. And he really wanted to use the name Quiet Riot, and he asked Randy and Rudy if he could use the name Quiet Riot, and they gave him their blessing, so I'm really glad that happened as well. They did not object, and the band was reformed. However, later on that year, Randy Rhoads did tragically pass away in a plane accident, and it was really a very devastating event that happened. And Rudy Sarzo actually did end up leaving Ozzy Osbourne after the tour was over, and he was replaced once again by Bob Daisley. So Rudy Sarzo decided to rejoin Kevin Dubrow with Quiet Riot, and they found 2 more members by the name of Carlos Cavazo, I think I'm saying that correctly, on lead guitar, and Frankie Banali, I think I said that correctly, on the drums. And that brings me to the subject of tonight's review, their 3rd studio release, their first album under the new incarnation entitled Metal Health. And this album is actually often credited with the birth of hair metal. And I think that is a very, very stupid term. I have never cared for it. I mean, there are lots of metal bands that have long hair, and they're not called hair metal. I mean, Metallica's not hair metal. Iron Maiden isn't hair metal. Judas Priest isn't hair metal. Merciful Fate certainly isn't hair metal. So I think that's a pretty stupid term, but I'm going to go off my soapbox. But anyways, let's go ahead and see what we have in the vinyl. So there is the cover, and man, that's an awesome cover. This would become their unofficial mascot for a period of time. Let's see if there's anything inside of here, and there isn't. We just have the record, front and back. So there we go. No credits on the inside. Are they actually giving me a track list on the back? Yes, they are. Okay. So anyways, there is the band. There's Rudy Sarzo on bass guitar. There is Frankie Banali on the drums. So sorry if I mispronounced that. There is Carlos Cavazo on lead guitar. And there is Kevin Dubrow on lead and backing vocals. And it looks like right here we have the track list. And it starts off with the title track entitled Metal Health. And for the longest time, I got into these guys back in college, and for some reason, I thought the name of the song was Mental Health. Because, you know, mental health is a thing, and it's spelled pretty closely to metal, but it's actually called Metal Health, and it actually sometimes goes with the parentheses, bang your head. And this song was clearly trying to bank off the recent trend of people banging their head when they went to heavy metal concerts. Okay, sounds logical. I mean, I do it all the time. And there's an old saying, if you don't come home with whiplash, and if you come home with a functional voice, you didn't have fun. But anyways, this is the leadoff track right here. And it starts off with the drum intro, and then after that it goes dong, 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 dong. And then Kevin just comes in with this screech. He's like, yeah! And I just love it. This album, this song is so well produced, and it's very heavy, and it's very aggressive. The songwriting is top notch, and it just flows and has such a great rhythm. I really, really like it. It's actually kind of slow, believe it or not. It's not exactly a fast song, I wouldn't say, but it really does make a statement at the very beginning, and the statement is this: we are here to bang our head, and no one, and I mean no one, is going to stand in our way. Sounds great, okay? But yes, the lyrics are definitely something. Well, I'm an axe grinder, pile driver. Mama says that I never mind her. Got no brains, I'm insane. The teacher says that I'm one big pain. I'm like a razor, 6-string razor. I got a mouth like an alligator. I want it louder, more power. I'm gonna rock it till it strikes the hour. And then we all know the chorus. It's so iconic. Bang your head. Mental health will drive you mad. And I did my very best there, so I know I can't sing, but, you know, I get carried away sometimes. But yeah, a very, very great opener. And yeah, we've got a pretty grooving midsection in the middle and some great guitar solos by Carlos, by the way, man. Such a great song and a great lead-off track, and that is the title track. But then we come to the song that everybody associates Quiet Riot with. And ironically, it's actually a cover. It is a cover of Come On Feel the Noise by a band called Slade. They were a glam rock band back in the 70s, and they decided to do a cover of one of their numbers. Now, the thing is this: Dubrow was very much against doing this cover. He did not want to do it at all. He was not a fan of Slade, and I think he was trying to get away from the whole glam rock thing. Sounds logical considering the genre of this album. But because of all that, the band decided to, and I am not making this up, they decided to record the song in one take, and they were going to play it as lousy and as bad as they could. And from that, we got their #1 hit ever. And yes, this song has been permanently ingrained into our pop culture, and it was an absolute phenomenon, and I really do like it. It's a lot more upbeat than the title track. I mean, it starts off with the drums, and, you know, we got, come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock your boys. We'll get wild, wild, wild. And then it just goes from there, and again, the rhythm and the flow of it is so good. The instrumentation is so good. Kevin is such a great lead vocalist, and I really do recommend Come On Feel the Noise, but I am pretty sure most of you watching this video right now have already heard it. You've heard the song, and you felt the noise, so I'm not going to say too much more about it. So then we come to the third track, which is called Don't Wanna Let You Go. And this one was actually kind of a turnoff for me initially. This one's actually a lot softer, and it's almost bluesy, actually, which I thought was a very interesting approach. I did not expect this album to be as diverse as it actually is, but, I mean, I do still appreciate everything. Again, when I picked this up, I wanted a full-fledged metal album, and I got a mixed bag, but, you know, Don't Wanna Let You Go is still a great song and everything, but yeah, it starts off, like I said, very, very soft, and it never really gets that fast, and it kind of moves along and moves along and moves along, and it's almost a ballad in a sense. I'm not sure if I would really call it a ballad, but it's definitely teetering on the edge, but, you know, don't wanna let you go, and yeah, pretty decent song, but not quite the best. But then we are going to come to what may very well be the highlight from side #1. I'm gonna go ahead and do my best here, okay? If I do a lousy job, do not be too hard on me in the comments. But it's the Slick Black Cadillac! And yeah, this is actually a re-recording. Slick Black Cadillac was actually a song that was off their second album, and they decided, I guess, to re-record it for Metal Health, their third album. And this version absolutely blows away the original version. I have heard the original version on YouTube, and I was quite disappointed in it. I am sure there are many people out there who like it, and that is awesome, but this one is just so much faster. It is so much more aggressive. It is so much more slick, if you'll pardon the pun, and it's just such a metal beast. I just love it so much, okay? But I mean, what do we got here? We got, just a big black set of wheels is what it takes to get me off. I'm gonna drive all night, spin my wheels tonight. It feels all right. Oh yeah, it feels all right. And yeah, I really love this song. Fun little story about this. I got into these guys right when I was I think, freshman in college. And then in my sophomore year of college, I was on the cross-country team, and this song was in my head during an entire race. Like, I'm, running as fast as I can, moving right along, and in the back of my mind, I keep hearing, Slick Black Cadillac, and the song was very fast. It was actually a very good thing to have in my head as I'm running. I'm not sure if you really know this, but I guess only a runner could relate to this, but when you're running and you're in lots of pain, because it gets painful, believe me, having a song stuck in your head is like the most obnoxious thing ever, but this one really actually worked out, and I ran pretty well, I can say that at least, but yeah, the song's about a slick back black Cadillac, unless that's an innuendo, I really don't know, but yeah, great song, very fast, moves right along very well, great rhythm to it, and it is heavy. It's very heavy, and it's a great change of pace from Don't Want to Let You Go. But then the song starts to slow down a little bit. We hear a horn honking in the background, and it segues very well into the last song from side number 1, Love's a Bitch. Now, this one is also a lot slower, and it's not a ballad, trust me. I mean, Don't Want to Let You Go is teetering on being a ballad. This one is not. This is a very, very dark song, very doomy, and very, very moody, I can say that at least, but it's also very heavy, even though it's slower. But I mean, we got Love's a Bitch, baby, love's a bitch, ain't it crazy? And yeah, pretty decent song, but I gotta say, I think it is still one of the weaker ones from side number 1. Slick Black Cadillac is definitely my favorite from side 1, followed probably by the title track and then Come On Feel the Noise. So yeah, Slick Black Cadillac, definitely my favorite, but side 1 is all great. Side 1 is top notch. I love every song from side 1. So let's go ahead and move to side number 2. It's right there. And it kicks off with Breathless. And this one starts off very fast. In fact, the entire song is very, very fast. And I just gotta say, this is definitely a metal song. It's not slow like some of the previous stuff. But this one never really quite left the impression on me that some of the other stuff from this album did. Make no mistake, it's a great rocker, it's a very fast rocker, but it's not quite, doesn't quite get me pumped the way some of the other material does. I mean, you leave me breathless, you drive me helpless, you take my breath away. Yeah, decent. And then we come into Run for Cover, which is a little bit slower than Breathless, but still, definitely not as slow as some of the other stuff. I'd say it's probably about mid-tempo, okay? This is another one that doesn't quite leave much of an impression on me, and again, if this was on any other Quiet Riot album, it would easily be the best song on here, but for the high standards of Mental Health, it definitely falls kind of close to the bottom, but still a great song. Again, a little bit slower, but still, it's got a pretty good punch to it, and it's still very, very heavy. Go run for cover, I'm a hit and run lover, run for cover tonight, and yeah, pretty good. But then, as you've probably noticed, the past 3 songs have kind of lost some steam a little bit, and the first time I heard this album, I was like, okay, Starting to lose a little bit, guys. I mean, you're still doing great here, but seems like this album was very, very front-loaded. Absolutely not. Because now things are about to pick up once again. We come to Battle Axe, which is a guitar solo. Now, many artists often do this. They'll just put a short little instrumental in the middle of their album, and a lot of times they really aren't that good, and it's really just a space filler. Not in this case. Battle Axe is a flat-out, badass guitar solo. It's dark, but it's heavy, and it is just a pure metal guitar solo, and it is awesome. Okay? It is such a great little jam session, and I am really glad they put it on here. It's a little synonymous with Eruption by Van Halen. Now, of course, Eruption came out 5 years prior to this, but it's just as heavy, just as epic, and it's a shame it has not gotten the recognition that Eruption has. But then we come into what is probably the best song from side number 2, Let's Get Crazy. And it's incredibly sexual. It is incredibly sleazy, and I love every single second of it. It's very heavy, but the guitar itself really sets the atmosphere of sleaze and debauchery that this song is about. I mean, it starts off with dum 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 dum, and then it just keeps moving and moving, and it never loses that really aggressive punch to it. And yes, these lyrics are just ridiculous. Looking for some action, want a mean machine. Don't, 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 don't. Getting hot and nasty, climbing in between. Don't, 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 don't. And then, yes, we have the chorus. The chorus is so simplistic, but it's awesome. Get down! Let's get crazy! I love it. And I just gotta point out, guys, the opening line for the second verse is just ridiculous. It literally reads, okay? By the way, if you are watching this with maybe a child in the room, you may want to, have them leave the room before you hear this, so viewer discretion advised. But the second verse starts off with, "Wanna kiss your lips, not the ones on your face. Your innocent jive is really out of place." Yeah, they really did just go there. But yeah, the song itself is great. It keeps building and building in the middle. The interlude is awesome. We have a great guitar solo, and it just keeps building and building and building until it just stops for a second. Kind of like a, what. And then it comes right back in with "Get Crazy." And then the song builds up once again. We have another verse-chorus arrangement. And I just cannot recommend Let's Get Crazy enough, okay? This song has really fallen through the cracks. It's the title track and Come On Feel the Noise to get all the recognition. Let's Get Crazy is just as good. And I really, like I said, highly recommend the song. But then we still have one last loose end to tie up. We have the closing track, Thunderbird, and it's actually a piano ballad. Now, you might be thinking that a piano ballad is very out of place on an album like this, especially after what we just experienced. But it's actually a tribute to the late Randy Rhoads, who tragically lost his life the year before, okay? And piano ballads sometimes do not work, and I have talked extensively about ballads that just came across as stupid, corny, sappy, and just way too trying to appeal to the mainstream at the time. Well, guys, I really do actually think this one works. I really do, okay? It is a good ballad. It still has that heavy guitar behind it that all the other songs in this album do. And I do legitimately buy them trying to pay tribute to their fallen friend. Because, again, Randy Rhoads did die the year before, and it really makes sense that they would want to honor him with this, and I really do like this as a song. But we've got fly on, Thunderbird, fly, fly on, spread your wings to the sky, fly on, Thunderbird, fly. And I probably did that horribly, but you get the gist. You probably already heard the song, and I highly do recommend it. What is my favorite from side 2? It's definitely Let's Get Crazy, but Thunderbird is a worthy runner-up, and I really think that overall, well, actually not overall, this is a great album, okay? If you have not heard this for whatever reason, you definitely need to. Unfortunately, Quiet Riot would fall into the same trap that a lot of 80s bands did later on. They would embrace the whole glam metal thing because, of course, they want to get on MTV and they want to reach a wider audience. Okay, this album mostly is going to appeal to men. They wanted to appeal to both men and women, which, oftentimes when artists did this, it resulted in a lot of crap. Now, I do think they did do some good stuff after this album, but they never met the success and the high honor that this album represents. And so for that, I recommend this album, and I do honor the memory of Randy Rhoads. And so that is going to conclude tonight's episode of Album Rant. Next time, we're going to play a game that requires time and money. But until then, have a very pleasant evening.